Hello everyone and welcome to the Knowledge Pool. Today we'll be going over the 3 new commander cards from the Maestros deck, Maestros Massacre, which is the Greek Scholars. Let's begin. So up first is the cover commander for this deck, Anhelo the Painter. It's Greek Scholars for 1/3 legendary creature Vampire Assassin with the chance and the text that the first instant sorcery spell you cast each turn has casualty 2. Which means that as you cast the spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater, and when you do, you copy the spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. So, early notes here, the Anhelo here tracks the first instant sorcery that was played on that turn. So, if you play, let's say, a Preordain, and then you cast Anhelo and try to cast another spell, you cannot casualty the spell because you have already cast the first instant sorcery spell. But the good thing for this is that it's each turn, so you want this deck to have many instants, so you can play on each of your opponents and have multiple casualties trigger. Also, the interesting casualty does stack, so you have a card with casualty already, and you give it another casualty too. You can just sacrifice 2 creatures separately for the casualty values and get 3 copies of the spell. 2 copies, 3 in the original. And also here you probably include a lot of Magecraft cards since you copy the spell, so you get 2 triggers, one from casting and one from the copy. Again, very good with rituals because you can early game sacrifice a small creature, get 2 dark creatures for example, and ramp up very quickly to some of your biggest spells. Later in the game you sacrifice a creature to cast one of your bigger spells. Works very well with cards like Tolerant because it makes 2/2s, so you can have constant row of 2/2s. And also very important here, not sacrifice Anhelo when you pay a casualty with its ability, because let's say you have making somehow 2 power and you choose sacrifice him as part of the casualty 2, it grants the ability. So if it's sacrificed while paying for the casualty, when the spell is actually placed on the stack, it will no longer have the casualty 2 text, so you will just sacrifice Anhelo and not get nothing in return, which is not something you want to do. Another very good card for this deck is Fractal Theorist because it has Magecraft to make the tokens, so you get to make 2 tokens per spell you cast, which gives you even more fodder for your casualty spells. And also Lier, Disciple of the Dawn, is very good for this deck. So generally a Greek spell slinger deck, but with some amount of token generation in order to be able to copy your spells quickly. Up next is Parnesse the Supple Brass. It's a 2 and Greek Scholars for a 4/4 legendary creature Vampire Wizard. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of spell ability, and upon control counter that spell ability unless that player pays for life. And whenever you copy a spell, up to 1 target opponent may also copy that spell, they may choose new targets for the copy. Unfortunately, I think this is a bit of a miss. It's a political commander through and through. You cannot actually screw your opponent somehow. When I first read it, I thought, okay, you can maybe copy a bad spell and give it to your opponent and use a new Magus Elemental to get rid of your copies on the stack. But you can't, because for the second ability, whenever you copy a spell, you choose an opponent and they may copy that spell. They are not forced to copy it. So essentially for this commander you have to play a political deck where you use your copies for spells that could benefit both players, or spells that you need a lot of it to maybe get rid of something. So let's say you play a remover for an artifact and you copy it, so you remove 2 artifacts and you say, okay, you choose an artifact, 3rd artifact from another player to destroy it. Pretty political commanders, so if your play group is into political commanders, play this. Otherwise I would avoid it because it's not very good and it's not really very interesting. And finally we have again a commander for the deck that can be used as your commander to play that deck. It's Syrix, Carrier of the Flame. It's a 2 and Rakdos Scholars for a 3/3 legendary creature Phoenix, Flying Haste. At the beginning of its end step, if a creature card left your graveyard this turn, target Phoenix you control deals damage equal to its part and target. And whenever another Phoenix you control dies, you may cast Syrix, Carrier of the Flame from your graveyard. Finally, a Phoenix legendary creature that we use as a commander. It's interesting that it's Rakdos because all the Phoenixes in Magic so far at least have been red. It's black because of flavor reasons, you get a thing when they return from the graveyard. It's interesting, you don't actually have to play Phoenix Tribal for this, because the first ability can target himself, so you can use Syrix to deal the damage. Since Syrix is dealing the damage, again you can use Death Touch, Lifelink to gain more life, or kill creatures at whim. You can also give him Infect, and if you give him Infect somehow it will deal poison counter damage, so you can go that route by making Rakdos deck that recurs creatures from the graveyard each turn. Interesting, again, it's end step, so you have a card like Reassembly Skeleton, really good here. You can return him before the end step to have deal damage every turn. Because again, it triggers at the beginning of his end step if it's an intervening if trigger, so you have to have a creature return before the beginning of the next end step. And important here, if Syrix dies with other Phoenixes, you don't get the ability. The second ability needs Syrix to be already in the graveyard in order to trigger. So there is where the Phoenix part comes in. If you want to play Phoenix Tribal, you can. There are around 20 Phoenixes, I think, in total in Magic the Gathering. So you can use it either way. I would personally use it as a recurring from the graveyard thing. Maybe play a couple of Phoenix that have really good synergy with Syrix, like the Phoenix that allows you to cast when you cast your commander, and make a win condition that way. And these were the commanders from the Maestros deck. Overall, Anhelo I think is a pretty interesting spell-slinger commander. Parnesse I don't really like, and Syrix would definitely make a lot of Phoenix Tribal decks and a lot of leave your graveyard type decks. Thank you all very much for watching. See you in the next video.